mission. It just doesn't help, frankly, for some of the atmosphere that's created when we all just sit down and we still don't have your testimony. Well, then we just sort of don't feel really good about that. It's not our custom and practice.
Congresswoman, I appreciate the importance that you put on my statement.
Well, thank you. Notice it's important, sir. Do you know what the poverty rate is in our country?
I believe that the poverty level is a fixed number.
No, do you know the poverty rate in this country?
I believe it is in the teens.
In the teens, okay. Well, it's
Hey everyone, this is True Voice. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're not afraid to speak the truth and stand up for working Americans. So today I watched a clip featuring Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia grilling Scott Bessent. And let me tell you, this wasn't just your average congressional hearing. This was a reality check, and it exposed a lot about how some of these so-called economic experts are totally out of touch. Let's watch.
A woman from Texas, Ms. Garcia, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the Secretary for being with us today. I want to start first by just clarifying your testimony and its delivery. Why did you ask for your witness statement to be embargoed until this morning?
Sorry, pardon me?
Your testimony reads right at the very top, embargoed until delivery, which means that we didn't follow the usual practice of this committee of getting the testimony 24 hours in advance so that committee members can review it and prepare for questions. Yours was posted at 10:01. The committee was at 10. Well, it looks like you need.
My staff is just telling me that it's standard practice.
It's your standard practice? It's not our standard practice as a committee.
I'm told that it was standard practice.
Okay, you were told by whom, sir?
So my comms team and legislative affairs team working with the committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think for the record, I think you should clarify to the gentleman that that is not our standard. And I know that at least I didn't know anything about this until I got it here. And I don't think our committee staff on the Democratic side was notified that we would be getting all your testimony late. I just wondered, why you had made that request, and clearly at the top, embargoed until delivery.
Well, embargo to delivery, I think that was mostly meant for the press.
We're not press, sir. We're the members of Congress that have oversight. So, Mr. Chairman, I would hope that you not condone this kind of late submission. It just doesn't help, frankly, for some of the atmosphere that's created when we all just sit down and we still don't have your testimony. Well, then we just sort of don't feel really good about that. It's not our custom and practice.
Congresswoman, I appreciate the importance that you put on my statement.
Well, thank you. Notice it's important, sir. Do you know what the poverty rate is in our country?
I believe that the poverty level is a fixed number.
No, do you know the poverty rate in this country?
I believe it is in the teens.
In the teens, okay. Well, it's about a little over 11%. It just strikes me that most of all your testimony is always about the tax cuts and cutting costs, and it's always about tax cuts, and it's always about the rich. But nothing is ever said about poor, other than you suggesting that you worked yourself
No, ma'am.
college.
No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime.
Sir, I read your testimony. That's not anywhere in here.
Deductibility.
That is not in here, sir.
Deductibility
I am
of
referring
auto
to your
loans.
testimony and what I've listened to. I said right up front, I can see you and I can hear you. You've not said one thing about what we're doing to help the poor. In fact,
none of your colleagues
even when
have
we were
asked me.
talking, even when we were talking about the car seats, that impacts poor people more than anyone else, because not only can they usually not even afford a car seat and have to go to a garage sale to find one, now it's going to be even higher. Your president is suggesting that he wants to give a $5,000 bonus to women to have babies, and then what? Just leave them out on the cold alone? No car seat, no food, no Medicaid, no no chip
Congresswoman,
program?
I can tell you the worst.
And I'm asking you right now, sir.
The
that
worst thing
you-
for
you
working
need- you
families
need to-
will be
as a
the
treasurer-
expiration of the
As
2017
Secretary of Treasurer,
Tax
it's not
Cuts and
just
Jobs
about
Act.
the inflation rate. It's not just about the GDP. It's also about making sure that we keep the poverty rate in this country low. There are people who are living in poverty that never have lived in poverty before. You know, you also failed to say here, you say unemployment remains low. I mean, the study should have read unemployment went up.
Ma'am,
Because it did.
Under the Biden administration,
And the growth we're not talking about Biden, sir. We're
record
talking
food bank
about your
usage.
testimony here
Record food
today
bank usage.
about the current president and his plans. Because I can tell you, I'm from Houston. I'm concerned too about some of the tariffs on energy. You know, we have done a lot to increase trade in Houston, construction, everything after the pandemic. And all things were growing. Everything has been growing. But now that the Trump tariffs have surfaced, it is threatening Houston's economy. I represent the area where almost the entire ship channel is in. The petrochemical companies all are in my district. The port is in my district. Everybody is trying to figure out
Gentlewoman's
what the
time has
hell we're going to
expired.
do.
Mr. Chairman,
Ranking member.
I ask unanimous consent to enter.
Let's start with this. Sylvia Garcia was absolutely right to call out the fact that Bessent's testimony was embargoed until after the hearing started. That might seem like a minor detail to some people, but it matters. In Congress, you're supposed to get the testimony early so members can actually prepare to ask real questions. That's transparency. That's respect. That's basic professionalism. But instead, the guy shows up acting like it's no big deal. That's a red flag. And then, this is the part that really hit me. She asked him a simple question. Do you know the poverty rate in this country? And what does he say? I believe it's in the teens. The teens? Really? That's your job, man. The poverty rate is a little over 11%. If you're going to come in front of Congress and give advice on the economy, you better know the most basic stats about the people you're affecting. Now here's where Garcia really lays it out. She points out that all these Republican-backed economic plans, all these tax cuts, all this pro-business policy, none of it ever talks about helping the poor. Not a word about struggling families. Not a mention of car seats, groceries, medical bills, or even just getting by paycheck to paycheck. It's all about the rich. All about corporations. I mean, she even brings up how a Trump proposal to give a $5,000 bonus to women who have babies sounds great on paper. But what happens next? No food, no Medicaid, no safety net. It's like saying, good luck, Mom, you're on your own. That's not pro-life. That's not pro-family. And it sure as hell isn't pro-America. And as a proud American, I'm telling you, this isn't what our country is supposed to be about. We're supposed to lift up the people who work hard. The people who build our roads, grow our food, protect our communities. Not just the CEOs and hedge fund guys. Garcia also talks about Houston, her hometown, and how tariffs are threatening the economy there. We need to listen to people on the ground. The ones who represent ports, petrochemical workers, truckers, builders, the backbone of this nation. Look, you don't have to agree with Sylvia Garcia on everything. I don't. But I'll tell you this. She stood up, she asked real questions, and she demanded real answers. And in that room, she was the only one fighting for people who don't have a seat at the table. That's leadership. That's patriotism. And if we want to fix this country, we need more of it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Was Garcia out of line, or was she dead on? I want to hear from you. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.